The phone is working. The heart is still beating. It must be Sunday morning. The leaf blowers are out in my neighborhood. Well, hello, dear friends. Very lovely and delicious, touching to see you again. It's been lifetimes. Lifetimes. Recording. Thank you, Carla. Very nice. Record to this.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Should you ever not be able to make it to this and you wanted to check in later, you can go to robertbeatty.com, and a ways down there's 3 buttons essentially. On the left-hand one takes you right to YouTube, which is the repository, I guess. The right-hand one takes you to the audio of this, of the Dharma talk, only of this. And then the middle one is a collection of guided meditations that I'm gathering for anyone who would like to use them. I'm going to do a bunch to put there, one on anxiety, one on physical pain, and so on. So, here we are. Well, I have a poem. I'm going to speak in my Dharma talk today, I believe, about anicca, impermanence. And it's one of my favorite topics. Everything is so utterly impermanent. Actually, what am I doing? Yeah. In debate here. I think I'm going to do this. Start with this. Anicca. Everything is in constant and utter change. So let me try this. Share screen. Do this. Hey, Danny, would you tell me if I get sound and vision on this?
Not seeing anything yet.
Not seeing anything yet. Okay, pausing.
No.
Taking back share screen. This share. Now?
I'm seeing something, yes.
Can you see looks like an ocean scene?
Yes, indeed.
And how about, hang on, how about sound?
Yes. We got sound, we got picture. Roll on.
Anicca. One of the 3 characteristics of existence. Nothing persists. And here's a poem by Gary Rosenthal. We have a witch attending today. Hello, KB. Somehow we're in prison. A prison without walls. Some of the inmates are Buddhists lined up to be photographed by some kind of hologram camera, a device capable of revealing our previous incarnations. To get the focus right, they turn it on. an outer wall of a hamburger joint, and they turn it on an outer wall of a hamburger joint in San Francisco. You see layers removed, a succession of different colors of paint. Images of painted hamburgers advertised with progressively lower prices, till there's just a bare slice of wood. Then a raindrop, then a cloud, an aggregate of dancing molecules whirling into forms. You can see what was true of the wall must be true of you. Incredible, you keep saying. Incredible. And then you wake up. You can see what was true of the wall must be true of you. Incredible, you keep saying. Incredible. Gotta get rid of something here. Close this. Don't save. Oh, shoot. What are the things we take refuge in? What are the things you take refuge in? A nice house. Being able to throw your legs over the side of the bed in the morning and stand up. The relationship that's been going for 6 months or a year or 10 years or 50 years. The stability of the economic system or the food supply. The stability of a democracy, which is only a couple of 100 years old. And they do come and go. In what are we taking refuge? My health? The refuge in the Buddha Dharma Sangha is an antidote to madness. An antidote to the sickness of denial. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sangaya. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Portland, Oregon. Cool. The trees are very different from when I left. They've lost a lot of leaves. The roof is covered with Douglas fir needles and little branches. The gutters are full, of course. The days keep getting shorter for another little while. The day before I left on my retreat, no, actually it was the morning of Sunday, a week ago today, I planted 2 pounds of crimson clover seeds in the garden. They've sprouted. They're 1/4 inch high. Thousands of them. All winter they're going to grow and pump nitrogen into the soil. They also suppress the weeds. And in the springtime they put beautiful crimson flowers out. How does it happen that a seed turns into a plant? Change. So please, dear friends, let's stop and sit together. Let's bear witness to this utterly mysterious aliveness. Let's notice that the body sits here. And maybe if your eyes are open, take a moment to look around and notice seeing. From where I sit straight ahead, I look out into trees that are moving in the wind. Constant change. It's never the same twice out there. And let's notice the aliveness of the fact of the body touching the chair. And as we settle in, I'd like to call to memory, to your memory, the presence of my colleagues and friends who spent time with you in the mornings this last week. They each bring decades of practice. They bring a love of the Dharma, which is exquisite. And their own vocabularies and experiences. So I invite us to call them to the altar of our hearts. And to remember all of our teachers. Whenever I say that, I think of my 5th grade math teacher, my homeroom teacher, actually, Mrs. McClagan. I had escaped at that point from a very abusive Catholic school. And suddenly there was a warm-hearted person who liked me. We did fractions using a felt board. She saved me. Think about your other teachers. Some of them who were flawed in significant ways. But who held you aloft one way or another and said, go this way, develop this part of yourself. You can avoid this pitfall by stepping around here, or however it was, whoever it was. In this lineage, there's the Buddha, and then an unbroken line of human beings, teacher to student for 2,600 years. And we pick up with Ledi Sayadaw, Ledi Sayadaw, in the late 1800s. And then U Ba Khin and Ruth Denison. And there are other lineages that pass through me as well. There's the Sufi lineage of Hazrat Inayat Khan. There's the lineage of the Thai forest tradition. Achan Cha, Achan Sumedo, Jack Cornfield. And so here we sit, dear friends, here in this moment, which is the only moment we will ever have. Let us come fully into the body. When we pay attention to the body, we don't really find a body, do we? We find clouds of sensations. We can focus the mind on the hands, life on the fingers. We can come home into the sensations in the feet and legs. Life. We can notice the face. We don't find a face, do we, when we awaken awareness in that region? What do we find? Life, constant change. And there's always, for as long as we live, this in-breathing and out-breathing. And so we can take as a pole star a direction, perhaps, of staying home here in the body with in-breathing and out-breathing. And it's not some imagination of the breath. It's not breathing in through the feet or the hands or something like that. It's the actual sensations of the chest and abdomen, of the back, of the sides, as in-breathing happens and as out-breathing happens. Each breath appears out of nowhere. It rises to fullness. It declines, and then it disappears. Of course, the body, matter, rupa, is just one of the 6 sense doors. Another is the mind. And mind objects are thoughts, memories, perceptions, moods, and we cultivate curiosity about thoughts, not about their contents so much, but the very fact of the way they shoot across the mind's sky. How we could say they think themselves into being and then vanish. And thoughts take the form of wandering minds, wandering into the past and future, actually creating the past and future. But let's not make the wandering mind a problem. Let's not make anything a problem. When the conditions arise such that awakening from the wandering mind occurs, let's notice that, awake. And let us reestablish presence with in-breathing and out-breathing. No battle, though, no war, just, oh, look at that. Another wandering mind. Home to this in-breathing. this moment now is exactly as it is. Notice if there's some impulse to change it. Should it be different? Should there be less wandering mind? Should the mind be more concentrated? Is there some sense of doing it wrong or doing it right? What if we relinquished all evaluation? What if we could let everything go into its radical impermanence? observing how life is. It seems as though there is me observing life, when in fact, life is living as us. Let each breath effortlessly come and go. Let each thought effortlessly come and go. Sometimes there will be crystalline awareness, other times lost in the dreams. In recognizing the utter impermanence of everything, sometimes doors of love and compassion and gratitude fling open, dissolve open. If everything is coming into being and then disappearing, isn't love the only reasonable response? When we experience suffering in ourselves and others, isn't compassion the only reasonable response? How can I help? Landing, opening, awareing in the midst of the body. Receiving its life, the life. Awakening, aware in the midst of the thoughts. The thoughts. Coming and going thoughts. Noticing the mood, the predominant mood. And allowing awareness to open in the face. Sensing the jaw and the lips and the cheeks, the nose, the forehead, and the eyes. And noticing the intention to open the eyes. And then operationalizing that intention and, in fact, making the effort to lift the eyelids. And then noticing how seeing occurs. It occurs all by itself, doesn't it? Seeing. We don't need to tell it to see, it sees. Seeing. No less mindful. I just had a very funny wandering mind. A memory. A long time ago. "45 years ago. It was Halloween. And how I came to this memory just now, this thought just now was I looked at you and I remembered, oh, it's Halloween. And then I thought, oh, everyone's in costume. They're dressed up as people. We're in these costumes and we forget we're in costume. I had this is when I was in graduate school. I was in a relationship with this wonderful woman. And she lived in a mostly female world, almost exclusively. And I'd been traveling for 5 years. I'd been in Afghanistan and India, and lived in Switzerland for a couple of years. And I wore a skirt. I wore a lungi in India for 6 months. That's great. Skirts are great in hot weather. So they had a costume party. And I went out and bought a cheap suit, a business kind of suit. And I had a pocket watch, and I greased my hair. And I went as in costume, in the ridiculous costume of a Western business suit. And there was, and I kept saying, pulling out my pocket watch, I'm late. And there was a distinct coldness that I experienced. And I was maybe the only male there, which was challenging in its own way. But after it was all over, I said to her, that was really not a very friendly crowd. And then she said, well, they all wondered why you didn't wear a costume. Oh, dear. Anyway, here we are in our earth suits. And we're pretty convinced by these costumes that this is who we are. But then if we stop and meditate for a while, they get pretty porous, don't they? I have 3 announcements, 4 maybe, 5 maybe, quick ones. If you look in the chat, I'd like to share some things with you that have been very moving to me. One is I was turned on to the book Radical Acts of Love by Janie Brown. It's 20 conversations of inspiration and hope at the end of life. It is an amazing book. I will always refer people to it now, in preference actually to Stephen Levine's book, the one that I usually refer. It's just it's 20 little short stories, and she's such a good writer. And she goes right to the edge with people. And then just the other day, I was recommended A Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion, which is, this will make me teary. Vanessa Redgrave did a stage production of it. It's an excerpt, what do you call it, distilled down for the stage. And so it's Vanessa Redgrave playing Joan Didion in the year following her husband's sudden death at the dining room table and her daughter's death. And it is so engaging. And it's about the magical thinking that she did during that first year. And then also, just a little further reminder on this, I'm almost finished with Waking Up White, which is by Debbie Irving. I'm listening to it. That's a very fine book for helping come to one's senses around being white and race. And that makes me think that yesterday I spent a couple of hours with Candle in the last of 5 2.5-hour gatherings around diversity, inclusion, and equity issues, and a very beautifully done group. And I'll be taking that to the board, and stay tuned, because we're going to be asking for your participation in a lot of different ways in making PIMC more and more inhabitable and honoring of all of our different communities that are part of our community. My class, I'm quite excited about this class. I've been getting into it. I reread What the Buddha Taught at the beach. Starts on Wednesday night. It's 8 gatherings over 12 weeks or so. And if you'd like a grounding in what the Buddha really taught, what the essence of it is, that'd be a great way to get it. Starts Wednesday. I think it's on the website. Hope so. What am I missing, Jim? Candles first and third Sundays.
That was 4.
Your Monday nights.
You said something.
Oh, I'm not hearing because I don't have my headset in. Just a minute. I've gone deaf.
Okay.
There, I can hear you now.
You said 4 announcements, and then you said 5, and then you said 4. So, did you want to add something to those 4?
I'm really glad to be alive and to be here with you.
I see.
That's
an important announcement. Thank you.
It's very powerful and touching to look from screen to screen. I invite you to look. It's one of the things that when Vanessa Redgrave starts, you get this, the way that when bad things are going to happen, there's kind of dark music that happens. It's like they set you up for the bad things going to happen. And from the first line or two, he's going to die. And they come home, and then they're at the dinner table, and he slumps forward. And she says, "Come on, cut it out, quit." And then he doesn't get up. And that truth is really up for me. Right? It's always here. The fact of our being together today is grace. It's nothing but a miracle. And had someone not so long ago say, "God, Robert, you're so predictable. You're always talking about death." And and I am rather preoccupied, and I don't think in a morbid way, but in a way that is, it makes so each frame I look at now. Here comes Debbie back. Hi, Debbie. It's like, oh, good, we're both alive still. That's nice. It's better than nice. There's Jai popping in. Hello, Jai. And it's so astounding that we get to be together. So more on that after. Anything else, Jim? Oh, I should do this. I have not been at the center in 5 days. So I haven't seen. I did have 2 urgent conversations with the team. You can be on retreat, but when they're building the center, you got to be available somewhat. And they poured the concrete. The footings are in for the ramps, and much more. They've been very busy in this last week. I'm quite interested to look. Apparently, they have the framing in for the door that'll go into the Dharma Hall, and more than that. So they're really cooking along. It looks like mid-December is probably it's the intended time. Mish, who I saw here a little while ago, Mish is starting painting on Monday in the living room, and the electrical folks are ready to come in with the new lights. And the carpet is now in Portland. It's it's purchased and ordered, so it's really coming along. No pictures today. Okay, Jim.
Well,
is that a dog?
While you were gone, Robert, Avi took some pictures of the changing leaves outside of PIMC on Duke Street. Mm-hmm. So if you go to Connections, you can find that communication from Avi, and it gives you an idea of one of the best falls in Portland that I've experienced. but the trees around the building were just gorgeous. All
right. Please take us into the present moment of movement. Oh, that's good. A good sound. The present moment of movement. And I'll see you soon.
Okie doke. Please join me. Find some space to move. Oh, I need to put my spotlight on. I forgot the spotlight. All right. So yeah, you can see from my top to my bottom. Let's go to the bottom, the contact of the feet with the floor. And we're just going to begin by moving to the side and then coming back and setting up a little rhythm. Sometimes I count, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then I drop the numbers and just feel the metronome. But then adding another moment of stillness and silence. When you get to the 1, 2, 3, stop, and then watch how 3, 2, 1 comes out of silence and stillness. So exaggerate the pause. There's silence, stillness, and out of nowhere, the rhythm starts. Pause. Just letting the attention, the awareness sink into that seam between. And then completely again come to the center and pause. And then feel that same rhythm as you breathe. There's movement in the rib cage, and then there's a pause, and then there's an exhale in the rib cage and a pause. Out of silence and stillness, the in-breath arises. Out of silence and stillness, the out-breath arises. So we can set up a rhythm with the lower third of our body, from the hips down, the lower half, or we can just focus on the torso and feel that every breath comes out of silence and stillness. And then watching the mind and the flow of thoughts, there's also a gap in between the thoughts. So you can play with this over 10, 15 minutes of a standing meditation and move from the feet and the legs in the first area of investigation, the torso in the second area, and then come into the thoughts and notice the same thing. For our purposes here, we'll leave that as your homework, the third one. And now let's interlock the fingers and come up. Turn the hands over and then go up. And then take a breath in and exhale out to the side. Inhale to the center. Exhale. So you've got a rhythm here. Notice the pause in the center. Notice the pause at the end. Staying mindful of beginnings, endings, and the scene in between. Coming back again, the mind wanders. Then if we follow a movement, and zero in on that transition, and then release the hands out to the side. There are little moments of silence and stillness all the way down. Bringing both hands to the heart area. Open the palms so they're facing each other. And from this stillness and this silence, stretch one arm up, flat palm towards the sky, one arm down, flat palm towards the earth. Pause and then return to the center. Pause. Feel the space between the palms. And then stretch and feel the space between the two hands. Coming to the center. Pausing. Moving from silence and stillness to a stretch. And there's space between the hands. Coming to the center, there's space between the hands. Just pausing and noticing. And notice all the sensations, all the way up, all the way down. Release, back to the center. Noticing what's the predominant sensation in the body. There's a continuous flow of sensations. And then there's a little reminder, empty space between. Back to the center. Feel the space between the palms. Surrender both arms to gravity. And watch the breath. Soft belly, straight spine. Deliberately switching from awareness of the softness in the belly, awareness of the spine, the sense of alertness, tension. You can turn them on and off like a metronome. Belly, spine. A river of movement, but just arising out of transitions, out of scenes. Allowing the awareness to include that subtle silence and stillness. Then we can do that same thing with large movements, sinking, opening to the side, sensations all the way up, turning the palms down and releasing like a autumn leaf, floating to the ground. Tending to lift. And then releasing. Very different sensation. Stillness, lifting. Releasing. Where does the releasing go? Into the silence. And once more. Release. Letting go, letting go, letting go. Arms just surrendering to gravity. Feet in touch with the earth. Through the floor into the earth. sensations in the legs, the tiny micro movements, fabric of our clothes touching our skin, all the way up the length of the legs into the hips. Movement of the torso and breathing. The feeling of cool air coming in through the nose, warm air releasing outward. Always opening to a new possibility. Earth, fluid, movement, heat, and the breath coming and going. Life in a standing body. Bringing our hands together in gratitude. Got another opportunity to practice together, and then shifting from standing and moving to sitting and listening. But the awareness makes the shift. We'll put the body in movement and move across the floor and get set up for a Dharma talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear Jim. Gallery. This is a teaching from the Dzogchen master Long Chenpa. And I once looked up, I think it was in the 1700s he was alive. In the forest, by the example of dead leaves, come to realize that the body, youth, and senses change gradually and do not possess any true essence. By the example of empty lotus ponds, come to realize that various objects of desire, wealth, and prosperity are finally going to change. And there is no true essence in them, and that which is accumulated will become exhausted. By the example of the change of days, come to realize that the various objects of desire, hang on, I lost my spot. By the example of the change of days, months, and the 4 seasons, come to realize that the blossoming, spring, flower-like body is subject to change as time passes. Its youth fades away, and the arrival of the Lord of Death is certain. By the example of the fall of ripened fruit, come to realize that all, young, old, adult, are subject to die, that the time of death is uncertain, and that what is born will die. By the example of the arising of reflections in ponds, come to realize that the various phenomena appear, but have no true existence, They are like illusions, a mirage and a water moon, and are certain to be empty of true existence. And my all-time favorite around anicca, impermanence, from the Buddha. All components thus should you look upon this changing world. All component things are impermanent. All component things are subject to dissolution. See all of this world as a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom, and a dream. Thus should you look upon this changing world. All component things are impermanent. All component things are subject to dissolution. See all of this world as a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom, and a dream. I have in my backyard, hanging from the house actually, just outside the kitchen window, an exquisite wind chime. I don't know if the neighbors like it. They may well not. The longest of the pipes, I can see it from where I'm sitting, is almost 3 feet, and they're about this big in diameter. And they've been tuned to the key of Gregorian chant. I found that out. I used my guitar tuner and found out what tones they were, and I asked my friends Adrian and Paige. Paige knew immediately. She said, "Oh, she just listened to it and she knew." It's amazing. She also listened to this lovely gong that I have. She listened to it and then she sang 4 different notes and she said, "That's the notes of that." It's a very different relationship to sound. But anyway, when the wind blows, and it has been blowing a lot lately, we have this wind chime in the backyard, and I love to just be near it and listen. And I recorded it. And I did it with the intention of doing a half-hour hearing meditation on retreat. But I'm going to do just maybe 5 minutes, maybe a little longer than that. So I invite you to sit comfortably. And I'll see if I can get it to come through here. I think it should be pretty easy. I'm going to turn this on. And this on. Okay. Are you getting chimes, Jim?
Yes, it's faint, but it's there.
Is it loud enough?
A little bit louder.
Is that okay?
Still too faint. Yes.
Good?
Yes.
So I invite you to let your eyes close and take as your primary object hearing. And notice that your mind wanders. And notice particularly how the sounds have a beginning and an ending, and everything in between. hearing. In the background, there's the sound of the wind. There may well be thoughts. Coming home to hearing. Hearing. And now it's this voice that punctuates the silence. I just looked through the window in my door. My dog Budo is out there. He tried to lie down and discovered that it was too painful, I think. He didn't make it all the way to the ground. He went over. I have a little bed for him out there. He went over there. Visual, coming into being, disappearing. There is something I'd like to share with you from my time on retreat, and it's being very resistant about coming into words. I think I can approach it in this way. When the mind is agitated, when the mind is preoccupied with the past or future, when the mind is emotionally upset. When the mind is caught in resentment, right? Resentment from the French ressentir, to refeel. When the mind is caught up in fantasies of the future, when the mind is preoccupied with desire or aversion, when the mind is restless and agitated, when the mind is burrowed into sloth and torpor, when the mind is preoccupied with competing belief systems in doubt, when the mind is preoccupied with self-hatred or other hatred, when the mind is preoccupied in ideology, sidedness, there's absolutely no way to perceive what's true. I had 5 15 or 20-minute conversations with Matt Flickstein while I was on my retreat. Very helpful conversations. One of the things that emerged was the experience that to hold, to cherish, to believe the slightest resentment about anyone or anything in the past is to lock us out of the present moment. If I have a funny biblical image come to mind, I don't have many of them, but you know when Adam and Eve ate the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil and they slipped into duality and then they were cast out, right? And this guy with a flaming sword was put at the door. As long as there's me and them, there's me. Anicca is one of the 3 characteristics of existence. The other 2 are dukkha and anatta. And they were presented by the Buddha as hypotheses. Because there's nothing to believe in the Buddha Dharma. He encouraged people not to believe. And what instead was and is encouraged is develop the capacity to actually see what's true for ourselves. And so there's this exquisite path which relies upon the development of awareness and concentration and the other enlightenment factors to first off illuminate this is the body, this is how the body is, matter. This is what liking and disliking are. And oh my, doesn't the mind like to do liking and disliking? All day, every day, liking this, disliking that. This is what mental formations are. This is what thoughts are. This is what emotional states are. We we come face to face with this that we take to be ourself. This is what perceptions are. We notice the mind perceiving, creating meaning out of things. And this is what consciousness is. It's the combination of the 4 foundations of mindfulness, or the 5 aggregates, the aggregates of suffering. So if we're going to meditate in the way recommended by the Buddha, we're going to really become scientific. We're going to really become objective observers of our lives. And at a very microscopic level. It's one thing to say, well, sure, everything's impermanent. Yes, I'm going to die someday. And right, the seasons change. And those are all very useful observations. Relationships change. But it's through meditation that we come into the present moment and we discover that right now, everything is in complete flux right this second. So one of the purposes of retreat is to lower the gain, lower the intensity of the inputs, lower the stimuli, the emotional stimuli from being around other people and relating. And then the whole thing can quiet down some. And then it becomes clear that thoughts are really impermanent. Emotions are really impermanent. They come and they go. Turning off the news for 5 days completely is really a marvelous practice. It's a story, it's a melodrama. And it can be very agitating. Very, very difficult and bad things are happening. And, there's Buddha trying to lie down again. He wants to be in the sun. He's 17. Oh, he's going back to his bed. I've been known to do that. Let's go sit down somewhere comfortable. So we can have this sense of important. It's important that I stay in touch. It's important that I stay informed. And sometimes it's important that I stay informed so that I can stay agitated. Because I have a sense of self when I'm agitated. I have a sense of, I know what's important when I'm agitated. So there, I had this opportunity in the last few days to let go of all that. I've spent a long time, it's 50 years, turning toward wherever the pain was, the traumas, the disappointments, the unrequited loves, the unskillful things that I've done myself, and the agitation from that. And we do all that because it kind of cleans out the pipes. It means there's less and less that we're holding at bay, and more energy is available to us. And then we can actually observe as the mind reveals its silence. And in that silence, the truth of anicca becomes irrefutably clear. Thoughts think themselves. That's actually the truth of anatta. There's no one who thinks thoughts. And the truth of dukkha, the slightest clinging to things being a certain way is dukkha. There's the maha dukkha, the great dukkha of sickness and old age and war and famine and all that stuff. But there's the dukkha, which is whenever there's the slightest wanting for things to be different than they are, it's unsatisfactory. Makes me think I was doing errands yesterday. I had a couple of things to get at Target and prescriptions, Fred Meyer, and something at Lowe's. This was on the heels of the retreat. And I had a great insight into wanting things to be different. I was pushing my cart through Target. And I discovered something very familiar. I was in a hurry. There was this impulse to get it done, to get on to the next thing. And under the influence of retreat, I stopped. And I started being really present with each step. I did walking meditation through Target. Not so slow as to become in trouble, but slow enough that each step was noticeable. And then there was finding the object I was looking for, a plastic container sort of thing. And then watching the mind decide, how do I decide, what are the measurements and so on. And then walking to the front. And the impulse, falling back again and again into hurry. I want to get this done. That's happening all the time. It's personality, it's craving, it's becoming. And as soon as awareness awoke in the present moment, it was gone. The dukkha was gone. The angst was gone. The shopping happened, but there wasn't someone trying to get it done fast. There wasn't anyone really. There was just walking, seeing, hearing. And now that's a memory, right? I'm describing memories now. So what about right now? What if we just dropped into silence for a little bit? Is it now I'm going to, quote, meditate and get somewhere? Am I going to get concentrated? Am I going to change something? Or what if I just dropped into now? And the beauty of this breath, the simplicity of this breath. and noticing the arising and passing away. Breath. Thoughts come. They are impermanent. So moment by moment, the truth of our lives becomes visible to us. The mystery of the living process is right here before our eyes. Right here before awareness, within awareness. And as I played that short recording of the bells, let's plan maybe for the rest of the day. Be aware in every circumstance, or in many circumstances, to what is it that I could attend that would make the truth of impermanence really stand out. One of the other things that I discovered again in reading what the Buddha taught was he goes to great lengths of dispelling the notion that to practice in this way leads to a kind of depressed person. It's all suffering, so what the hell? If the practice is really being in the present moment and accepting it like it is, there's a lot of room for joy in that. Phew, I don't have to change it all right now. Sometimes we have to change things, of course. So I invite you now to open your eyes to see. And then with these little postage stamps, Nietzsche is quite interesting here too, because I can look from myself to another person. And that person disappears, and then there's another person, and then that person disappears, and then another person. We're having very quick relationships. I hardly got to know you, and you're gone. Gosh, I don't even remember your name. Let me go back. Oh, there it is. All right, hi. So that's what I have to say. I hope it can be of use, maybe even inspiring. So do you have any question or comment you would like to share? Because we have a few more minutes.
I love the chimes.
Who's that speaking? Wave, would you?
Joan.
Hi, Joan. Yeah, they're nice, aren't they?
Yes.
I was surprised to hear how much wind noise there was. I hadn't really noticed the wind roaring in the background, but there it is. What do you think? Do the neighbors like it?
How could they?
Robert, I don't know about your neighbors and your chimes, but this is Heather. We have neighbors who have wind chimes, and just a few weeks ago, I took a few moments and actually wrote them a card of gratitude and left it in their mailbox because I had been enjoying their wind chimes so much. So
Oh,
perhaps you have neighbors who are secretly enjoying your wind chimes, but are not so bold as to thank you with a card.
oh, what a nice way to think about it. Great. I actually brought it up the other day, thinking, I could put something around the gongers about this big, which would dampen it a lot. But Jennifer is quite hard of hearing, and she loves them. She hears them really well in the house. Her hearing aids pick out those tones very well too. So she said, "Oh no, don't do that. I really like them." So thank you for that nice reframing, Aaron.
Robert,
Hello.
hi.
Hello, my friend Aaron.
I've been facing anicca in a pretty big way.
Yeah.
Despite being triple vaccinated, I acquired COVID.
No shit.
Yep.
Oh,
And, I've been sick since Tuesday, and I was pretty sick, but I'm much better now. But yesterday, I was faced with the loss of my two senses, taste and smell.
oh dear.
And we know that this is really common and usually temporary, but the mind was like losing it because it was considering a lifetime of not being able to taste or smell anything. And that's a big grief, to grieve the loss of those two senses.
Yeah.
So that's better today also. But it's just, you were talking about taking things for granted. And there's no desire to eat. And there's quite a lot of depression that comes with being sick like this and having that problem.
Wow.
Almost along the lines of like, what is the point of living if you are going to taste things like cardboard and everything tastes like cardboard or water for the rest of your life? And of course, it's not going to be for the rest of my life. I hope there are some permanent cases. So that's what got me scared.
Yeah.
Anicca.
Anicca. I resonate closely with what you're saying. As you may remember that I lost my sense of smell with the brain surgery. And there was a smell. It was kind of like paint thinner. It was everything smelled like paint thinner. And but it was gone about a year. It did come back, and it's back pretty well now. But
Here it was gone.
yeah, but that was a surgical thing. They exposed to get underneath the brain. They had to. The doc explained it to me. They had to expose the olfactory nerve. And they did. He said we did our best to keep it moist, but it was several hours that it was exposed, and it was actually. I feel sad. It was hard. It was hard. And talking about taking for granted, well, of course I can smell things, right? That's what a rose smells like. Well, actually, I could put a rose up to my nose and nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have this collection of essential oils to start my olfactory training,
Yeah.
and none of them smell like anything. That's
Yeah.
cinnamon or tea tree, or there's no scent from anything.
Huh.
So I know it's really common, and without the vaccine, I could be on a ventilator or dead. And it's not that I don't have gratitude. It's just that I'm allowing myself some mourning for having lost two of my senses. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's big.
And of course, all the attempts, all the effort over the last 19 months to try to stay safe. And
Right.
for what?
Mm. Are you here or there?
I'm outside, which is the
Are
only
you?
place I can be besides my bedroom.
Mm-hmm. Ah, yes. Are you? But are you in Portland?
No, I'm
No.
in Reno.
Uh-huh. So you're having to isolate.
From the cats too, because the cats can get COVID. So I'm trying to keep the cats in one part of the house and me in the other part, and they don't understand.
Huh. I had never heard that.
Hmm.
Do they then become carriers? Is that a risk with cats, or they get
No,
sick?
but my cats have illness, so I'm
Oh, I
trying
see.
not to get them sick.
Huh.
So it's hard.
Whew. Yeah.
Health is impermanent.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing this with us.
Keep up your vigilance. And also, when do we start to live again? Because this is it never ending at this point. It's not going to have an end like we thought it might. So, do you always stay in your house and don't see people and, don't do anything enjoyable outside your house? Or do you take the chance and, I don't know the answer.
I'm a little disappointed that you're triple vaccinated. I get my booster this afternoon, and I was having until you spoke the delusion that, oh, good, then I'll be safer again, really a lot safer.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But I work in a hospital around COVID,
Yeah.
I just think that we have to make a decision for ourselves if we're going to start to live our lives again or
Mm-hmm.
and how. Because I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything that's going to totally protect you.
Hmm. I want to mention again that amazing book, Radical Acts of Love. I'm about halfway through. And I talked with an old friend yesterday. The woman that I traveled with for 7 years. We went to India together and lived in Europe together. She has a family member who's dying, and they can't talk about it. And I recommended this book to her. And it's so helpful. Like I'm really grateful to you, Aaron, for sharing this right now. It's very touching. It's very heart-opening, and to know, to share with each other when we're hurting and when things like this happen. It brings me to life. And what it means is that we do have to face the pain of it. But if we can't do that, then we can't face the joys either. We don't get to choose one or the other. Things come as a package. Life comes as a package. And so it's such a gift to the group for you to share, Aaron, this, and hopefully you can feel a little bit of support from that. But it feels very. I feel very alive right now. How's our time doing? Oh, a little after 12. Is anybody sitting? I see that we have Aaron and Molly. So Molly probably would like to lead us in some song, and they're in costume. They're not only in human outfits, but they're in, looks like cat outfits or something too. Does anybody else have something you'd like to share before we go? Well, Molly, are you ready? I'm going to spotlight you here. When you're ready, you need to unmute and lead us in our song. Oh, a little shy.
Happy. Like, are you ready?
Oh, you are in cat outfits. Look at you. They're whole suits. Wow. That's cool. All right, so please unmute everybody if you wish, and Molly, go for it.
Be happy.
May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu. Hey, Molly, I can make a good cat sound. You want to hear it? Makes me cough. All right, everybody.
My dog is like,
Bye.
what's going on?
See you tomorrow morning if you come then. Bye-bye. Take care.
Everyone.
Thank you, Robert.
Goodbye, James.
Well, everyone.
Happy Halloween.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Goodbye, Roseanne.
Thanks, Tonga.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Eric and Christopher. Bye-bye, everybody. Goodbye, Sherry and Carla and dog. Carla and friend. All right, here we go. Prepare for the leap to hyperspace.